the sponsorship shockwave. There are absolute insane things happening in cycling right now. And then there's this. Chris Froome's team, the very project that once promised to be the shining beacon of rebirth for one of the sport's greatest champions, is suddenly teetering on the edge. Not because of performance issues, not because of UCI points or some doping scandal, but because their main sponsor has just walked away. Premier Tech. Yes, that Premier Tech. The company whose logo has been plastered across jerseys, buses and team cars for the last few seasons. It's officially pulled the plug, and in doing so, they've set off a financial and existential earthquake that might just bring down Froome's entire team. Now, to understand how we got here, we must rewind a bit, because this ain't some random overnight breakup. This has been a slow-motion divorce months in the making. It started with them being banned from races because they were causing protesters to come onto the road, and a bunch of other things which kept getting worse and worse and worse. It has been really, really bad, and behind the polite press statements and smiling PR photos, things have been getting weird and fast. It all began when the team started to drift off of the World Tour radar, back when Froome's grand comeback never quite materialised, and the squad was relying on wildcard invitations just to appear in the big tours. The budget was massive by Pro Tour standards, but the results? Let's just say prestigious top 20 at the Tour of Rwanda doesn't sell many bikes. So, Premier Tech, a multinational tech and industry giant, started asking questions. Questions like, why are we spending millions to fund a team that's not even guaranteed a Tour de France spot? And how come our star is still finishing 5 minutes down a bad day in Occitanie? Fair questions, really. Then you had the protests and the people stopping the tours, which I don't really want to get onto in this video because this isn't going to be political, you guys. It's a cycling channel. The breaking point for this team didn't come from results, it came from controversy. Over the past few years, the team itself has swept in, well, let's say, a politely global turbulence. Headlines, debates and invitations that had absolutely nothing to do with bike racing had suddenly become linked to the team's image. Premier Tech's executives, who normally prefer to spend afternoons talking about manufacturing solutions and software integration, suddenly found themselves fielding questions about geopolitics. And that's the moment when you could almost hear the corporate alarm bells ringing from Quebec to Girona. We're out, they say. That's essentially what Premier Tech said behind closed doors, months before this became public. The company decided it couldn't stay attached to a project that had become a lightning rod for things completely outside of sport, and that's when the dominoes started to fall. By last October, team insiders say that management had already been warned. Froome's squad faced the possibility of starting the 2025 season without a title sponsor. Now, in pro cycling, that's the kind of statement that's like hearing your parachute might not open after takeoff, because a team like this doesn't run off small change or Patreon donations. Between Froome's contract, which by most estimates still sits north of €5 million a year, and costs of maintaining a full Pro Tour infrastructure, we're talking about a burn rate of millions per month. Without Premier Tech's backing, that's a financial black hole with no bottom. The real kicker, Premier Tech wasn't just a name on the jersey. They were paying for about half the team's budget. The rest came from a consortium of smaller backers and the mysterious benefactor who has bankrolled Froome's dream project from the start. But that equation doesn't balance anymore, and the sponsors aren't the only ones leaving. According to sources close to the team, several riders are now seeking alternative contracts in case the squad folds mid-season. Staff members, mechanics, sawyers, even long-time coaches are reportedly bracing for a restructuring. This is not just a sponsorship loss, this is a full-blown identity crisis. Imagine this: Chris Froome, a multiple Tour de France champion, sitting in the twilight of his career, watching as the project built to honour his legacy begins to crumble around him. Okay, he's not exactly in the twilight, I get it. He's just had a really nasty operation, followed before a really nasty accident in training, but he still was competing as a professional cyclist, let's just make that clear, until that happened. It's both tragic and poetic. In some ways, it kind of mirrors his own journey. The comeback, the crashes, the comeback from the comebacks, and now, just as he seemed settled in for his mentor role or coaching role, the ground beneath his team starts shaking again. But is this truly the wild part? Everyone inside the sport kind of saw it coming. The whispers had been growing since early 2024. The sponsor was uneasy, the brand exposure wasn't matching expectations, and the media spotlight has shifted somewhere else entirely. The blue and white team went from being a high-budget curiosity to a PR headache. By the end of the news, it had become official. The team's fate was practically sealed. Panic at the bus. What happens next? So here we are. One of the most well-funded Pro Tour squads of the last decade is now staring down the barrel of a financial collapse. And everyone's asking the same question. What happens to Froome now? Let's start with the basics. Teams at this level need a UCI license, and that license needs to be backed by a financial guarantee. Basically, proof that they can pay riders and staff for an entire season. Lose your primary sponsor, and that guarantee suddenly looks very shaky. If the team can't replace Premier Tech fast, the UCI could theoretically revoke their license or refuse to renew it. That means no Tour de France invites, no Pro Tour status, and potentially no team at all. Right now, insiders are describing an emergency funding scramble. Management has reportedly reached out to several potential replacement sponsors. There's talk of a North American investment group, a couple of European tech firms, and even whispers about a new performance nutrition partnership, whatever that means. But none of that comes close to covering the hole left behind. Here's why. Premier Tech's annual contributions wasn't just big, it was foundational. Without it, the team's entire model just unravels. Riders like Derek Guy, Michael Woods and Corbin Strong, all of whom have delivered solid results, were signed on salaries that assumed a stable, long-term sponsorship base. Now, those deals look like a house of cards. Then there's Froome, the man himself. If you believe the reports, Froome's contract runs through to the end of 2025. That's another full season of payroll obligations, bonuses, and appearance clauses. The irony here is painful. The team that once needed Froome to attract sponsors may now need sponsors to attract Froome. It's like a vicious cycle, pun very much intended. And to make matters worse, the timing couldn't have been more catastrophic. The off-season is when teams secure funding and finalise rosters. By November, major backers have already committed. That means Froome's outfit is trying to shop a multi-million euro sponsorship package at a time when the corporate world has already spent its marketing budget for the year. Now, this isn't just bad timing, it's catastrophic timing. Still, let's give credit where it's due. The management hasn't thrown in the towel yet. They've survived crises before. Remember the 22 relegation scare, or the internal split that nearly sent half the roster to another sponsor. Every time they managed to rebuild, but this one feels different. This one isn't about performance, it's actually about perception. What do you guys think? Comment down below your opinions in the comment section, as I'll be interested to hear. Leave a like on the video for good luck, and subscribe if this is your first time here for the latest cycling news, cycling drama, and cycling results.